Hi there, Sean Dillman here. So yesterday I gave a presentation to the University of Toronto Faculty of Law, and it went really well. We had a great turnout, and I know that there were a lot of people there, or pardon me, people who were not there that wanted to take part in the workshop, take part in the presentation, and were not able to attend. So I'm making this video so that more people can see the presentation and make sure that any student that wants to see this and have the information is able to do that. So to get started, please visit my website, seandillman.com. And then what I'll get you to do is click here where it says events, and then scroll down here. This is the event from yesterday. It's Thursday, January 19th, 2023, Leadership Skills Program, 7 Practical Tech Skills for Law School and Beyond. So click on this button to visit the events page, and then come down here, and then I'll get you to click on this image. This is the workbook that we use to go through this entire presentation. So click on that. So once you open this up, I would suggest that you download it into your downloads folder or somewhere on your computer so that you have access to it. So that's what I'm going to do now. Alrighty. And then I'm looking at this in Adobe Acrobat. You may have Adobe Reader, or you may just be looking at it in a web browser or something. That's fine. I'm going to click here, fit on one page, so that it's nice and clear for us. And then I think I can do that. Great. Okay, so this is the workbook that we're going to be going through. Yesterday I had about an hour and a half to do this presentation. In this online video, I may make it longer just so that I can talk about some of the points that I couldn't talk about during the presentation. But yeah, if you want to watch this on 1.5 speed or 2 times speed, if you want to jump around, please feel free. I suppose that some people may even want to watch this who were present yesterday and who maybe, they maybe missed the section, or they had to leave early, or they want some more information, stuff like that. So yeah, okay. So here's the workbook, page 1. Second page is the table of contents. We'll be stepping through all of this, about me, and then about this presentation, what our goals are, information about the prerequisites, the things that I'll get you to do before getting into this. You may want to push pause at one point. And then the 7 individual skills that we'll be looking at: how to draft using speech to text, how to format memos and documents, how to proof using text to speech, how to review and collaborate on documents, how to track tasks and record time, how to use basic spreadsheet functions, and then how to track and manage email. So as you can see, it's all really practical how to do this. I'll be showing you that I have a table set out for each of these 7 items, which shows us who's going to be doing this, why, when, how, that kind of thing, to try to keep it really practical for you. And then finally, at the end, there's a little conclusion information I have, and then some additional online content that I recommend that you may want to take a look at. Okay, so about me. This is me. Hello, I'm Sean Dillman. So I started studying law at the University of Victoria in 2012. I got my first law job in 2014, and I worked that job while I was going to law school. So at the University of Victoria, we had Fridays off. So I was at the law firm every Friday for about a year and a half, or 2 years, something in that ballpark. And then in 2015, I graduated. I started articling at the firm where I was working. 2016, I was called to the bar, and I started working as a barrister and a solicitor at another firm. 2018, I opened a firm with a partner and a friend at the time, and was co-managing the firm together. And then now, since 2022, I am legal counsel with the British Columbia Ministry of Attorney General Legal Services Branch, the litigation group. So yeah, and as I say here, outside of legal practice, I am really passionate about IT and law, and helping lawyers and law students use good practices to kind of get the most out of what they've got. So yeah, I've got a YouTube channel that I run on the side. I'll be mentioning it throughout the presentation. And just a little quote there, I do know that law school and legal practice can be really tough. And for me, using good IT skills is a really great way to help deal with that. And this is an image of me in my office from a few years ago, using my standing desk. I've got 4 monitors that I use in legal practice. So there you go. The target audience and goal. The target audience for this session is basically any student, even pre-law students, first-year students, second year, third year, grads, recent grads, people doing grad studies, master's programs, basically anybody. Any student that has a job, any student that is looking for a job, any student that hasn't started looking for a job. This information is made for you. And the goal of these materials is to provide you with actionable information, real stuff that you can really do. I'm hoping that a lot of it may actually be stuff that you start doing from now on every day. There's a lot of these techniques I'll be showing you. They are things I do every single day. And as far as I know, well, as far as I've seen, there's a lot of lawyers that do not use this stuff and don't know what this stuff is. So it's really my mission to get the word out and spread what I think are really good and powerful techniques and practices. The second bullet, I will be arming you with these new tools, as I'm mentioning, and you'll actually be walking away with some real precedents that you may potentially want to use either at law school or in legal practice, whatever the occasion is. And yeah, the last bullet, I want to turn on light bulbs for you. So what I mean by that is, and I've got an anecdote to go with that. So I once had a legal assistant who joined my firm. We hired her to the firm, and she was from a law firm that was not really big on technology. So when she came to the firm, I upgraded her monitors, made sure she had, multiple monitors, made sure she had a next generation mouse, desktop scanner, all of this technology. And one day she said, wow, she said, I didn't know that I needed these things until I had them. And I said, wow, that's a really great quote. I said, can I use that in the future? And she said, sure, you can. So my point is that a lot of this stuff is, this is information that you wouldn't know that you would need these things or that these things would be useful to you unless you were taking a attending a presentation like this. So please stick with me and you'll be learning some good stuff. So yeah, this is kind of a mixed workbook. So this workbook has a lot of information in it, but it also is doubling as a place to do some of the work. So if you want to put your name in, Sean Dillman, your law school email address, it could be the one at law school or it could be a Gmail address. So Sean Dillman law at gmail.com, law school start year 2012. Today's date is January, what is it? 2023. Prerequisites. So these are things I'm going to want you to do ahead of time before the workshop. So right now you can push pause. I want you to have a set of earphones or earbuds, like the ones that I'm wearing, or a set like this, headphones, that's fine. I need you to install, I need you to install some software. So I need you to have Microsoft Word, Excel, and Outlook running on your computer. And bring an academic assignment of your choice, something that you're working on so that we can actually use it as part of the demonstration. Okay, lesson 1. So how to draft using speech to text. So drafting using speech to text is what it sounds like. You're using your voice to dictate text. This is something that law students can use to complete academic work or work in an office, as I said, at law school or at the office. And the point, the why of this is to quickly transcribe things and put your speech and words into printed form quickly so that you can draft more quickly. And the way we're going to do that is we're either going to use Microsoft Word on our computer or you can use a smartphone. Those are the requisites, is having a microphone or a smartphone. If you need at any point in the future to see a demonstration of this, you can click on this video. I have a program on YouTube called Law Student Tech Course. So part 2 software, I cover speech to text, but we're going to cover it today right now. So the first thing you're going to do is we're going to use Microsoft Word. You could also use Excel or Outlook. You can use different software within the Microsoft Office suite, but we're going to use Microsoft Word. So we're going to click the dictate button that is in the home ribbon, and then you're going to see a red dot appear, and then the text will appear as you dictate. You can go into the dictation settings here, and you can click this question mark, which will give you information about the commands. And you can also dictate using your smartphone. So because this is a fairly practical exercise, I'm actually going to show you what I mean as opposed to just talking about it. So if I were to, in legal practice, meet with a client and they came in to tell me something and I need to draft a memo, I could draft a memo by typing it out, or I could do something like this. Today, the client came to see me at my office, period. The client brought some documents with respect to her father's estate, period. We need to draft the letters to send the information to the various banks so that we can get information about the holdings of the deceased, period. I asked my assistant to do this, and ideally she will have drafts to me by the end of the week, period. Okay, so I pushed the dictate button to stop. As you can see, it did a pretty good job. Today, the client came to see me at my office. The client brought some documents with respect to her father's estate. We need to draft the letters to send information to the various banks so that we can get information about the holdings of the deceased. I asked my assistant to do this, and ideally, she will have drafts to me by the end of the week. So the reason that I'm doing that is basically to draft faster. I could have typed that out, but as you could see, it was really easy for me to type it out. The thing that I typed isn't perfect, and it's not the most intelligent thing I've ever written in my life, but it does the job. It's a quick and dirty memo, and it gets the job done. So I do want to warn you, though, two things. So warning number one, the Law Society of British Columbia, where I am, has some rules about client information remaining in my jurisdiction in British Columbia, not going across the border to the US, possibly not even going across the province border to other provinces. It depends on how you read the rules. So in order to stay on side with those rules, you see that when I drafted my message, I basically was saying, the client this, the client that, and I was kind of speaking in general terms. I didn't say my client Mary Smith came to see me and about the estate of her father Robert Smith or something like that. And the reason I'm doing that is because the data that is my voice, when it goes into my microphone on my computer, it's very likely being sent, in the blink of an eye at the speed of electricity, remotely to a server somewhere else in the country or possibly in the United States for processing. So because that's happening, I like to draft in a way where I'm not saying things that are potentially identifying to the client. Also efficiency. As much as possible, I try to dictate my memo to the place that it's going to ultimately be. So if you see this video reference here, I have a session that I did, Microsoft Office for Law School and Beyond. I actually first presented that at the University of Toronto as well. So in part two, I show how I used Microsoft OneNote at law school quite a bit. And my point is that if you're going to be dictating a message into OneNote, it's a good idea to just dictate directly into the software as opposed to dictating to an email or dictating into Word and then copying and pasting the text and putting it somewhere else. So the idea is to be as efficient as possible. So if you can dictate directly to the place where the text is going to be, that's going to be the most efficient way to do that. So if you have any questions about this exercise, you can post them on this video and I can respond to them. But we are going to move on to exercise number one. Exercise number one is using the speech to text technology of your choice, meaning you can do it in Microsoft Word, you can do it in Microsoft Outlook, you can do it using your smartphone. Dictate a short paragraph telling me what your favorite course is and why, and paste it in the below box. And don't forget to punctuate by saying the word period between sentences. So go ahead and take some time right now to do that. Just, a short paragraph. My favorite course at law school is contracts, period. The reason that I prefer contracts over the other courses is because I really like my professor so-and-so, period. I also think that the cases are very interesting, et cetera, stuff like that. So take a moment, go and do that. Just do something simple and paste it into the text box. And if you're a pre-law student or a new law student, feel free to talk about an undergraduate course. My favorite course at undergrad was a course I took on children's literature or political science or something. Okay, so that brings us to the second skill that we're going to look at, which is how to format memos and documents. So formatting memos and documents quickly, accurately, using hotkeys, that's what this section is all about. The people that are going to be using this are law students at law school, but definitely students or young lawyers in offices are going to be using this stuff all the time. And if you're at law school, you may be kind of doing this if you're simulating working at a firm, or if you're working at a clinic, or if you're working at a real firm or something, or a real place of employment. This is real life stuff. You're producing real documents. So the way we're going to do it is we're going to use Microsoft Word. We're going to use hotkeys as much as possible. If you are interested in a video resource, I have a program called Microsoft Word for Lawyers. It's on YouTube. I also have, again, the Law Student Tech course I mentioned. I've got a section on keyboard shortcuts and macros. There's all kinds of information about using Word, using shortcuts. But again, we're going to just do it right now as part of this workshop. So basic office memo. These are documents. Click this button and you can download both of these. So click this one and it downloads. Click this one and it downloads. And then you can click them here and open them on your computer. So this is basically just a memo template that I'm giving you that I think is useful. This is something I've used a million times. So if you look on the left, this is a generic version. And if you look on the right, this is an example, a memo with the information filled in. The reason I'm giving this to you is you may start working at a firm that doesn't have a memo template, or they may just say to you, get started working, and they haven't given you the tools that you need. So you may actually need something like this, or you may want to see a memo template like this. So just kind of walking you through line by line. Line number 1 says this is a memo. That's a good thing to know, because that way, you know what this is. It's a memo. Line number 2 says the name of the firm, so that you're saying, okay, this belongs to this firm. It's for internal use only. It shouldn't leave the firm. It shouldn't go anywhere else. That's what this document is. Line number 3 is the date. Obvious why that is a useful thing. Number 4, page blank of blank. I like to say page blank of blank, page 1 of 1 or 1 of 2, so that if you ever lose a second page or something, you know that this document is supposed to have 2 pages. If you just have page 1 of 2 and you flip it over and there's nothing there, you know that either it was mistakenly labeled as page 1 of 2 and there's only 1 page in reality, or it means you're actually missing the second page. Number 5, put your name so that it's obvious who drafted this. Line 6, very important at law firms. Who does this memo relate to? What's the client name? What's the file number? What's the matter type? It might not be sufficient to just say John Smith, because you may say, well, is it John Smith's real estate file, or is it John Smith's personal injury file? And then you move on to line number 8, and that's moving from here is just a really straightforward kind of subject, verb, object, today I did this. The client phoned me at this time. This is what the client said. Here are my notes. So I'll leave it to you to look at those details and imagine various ways that memos could be written and the information that could be in them. But this is something I'm just providing to you as a resource. And here they are, just bigger so you can see them more easily. Okay. So if you have any questions about this, go ahead and comment on the video. If you have any questions about the memos, I'm guessing you don't. They're really straightforward. They like, I'll go back here. Like they barely even have any formatting. Sometimes I may actually make these memos in Microsoft Notepad. I've got a video on that I may mention at the end, but a YouTube video on that, where in Notepad, you don't even have any formatting, right? So this is just really bare bones, basic stuff, not a fancy document. However, what we're going to talk about now is we're going to talk about office letterhead. So it is more fancy. So the version on the left and the version on the right contain the same text, but with different formatting entirely. So again, if you want to download these documents, click here. So I just downloaded that template. And then this is the after template. This is the one that's got all of the formatting. Okay, so Coming down here, so this is what it looks like without any formatting, as this is just kind of a letter from without prejudice letter to opposing counsel on a file with respect to a dispute with ABC 123 Corporation involving 221B Baker Street. So this, as you can tell, does not look like a letter that you could reasonably send to opposing counsel or to anybody else. It's not formatted. It's really not fit to be sent out as a letter. I suppose you could, but it's really not very nice looking. So moving on, this is a letterhead that has formatting, and there's a lot of stuff going on here that we're going to talk about some of the specifics about what's going on here. But as you can see, this is kind of night and day, the difference between what this document looks like here and the difference between what that document on the left looks like, right? Having the formatting done. So just to kind of start getting into the basics, there is a header on the formatted document where we've put the logo of the firm and the name of the firm. We're using a custom font type. It's called Palantino Linotype. It just kind of looks nicer. A lot of firms like to use a custom font that they use just at their firm kind of thing. Not Arial, not Times New Roman, something unique. We've got some tables that are happening here. So you can't see it because it's not turned on, the formatting in that picture, but here it is turned on, and you can see that this is actually a table. That's what these little dotted lines are. They're showing us that this is a table. And actually, if we go up here to layout, this button at the top, view grid lines, if we turn that off, it turns off the grid lines for the tables. So then we can't see it, but these are tables. The reason that we have these tables is so that we can make this text left justified, so that it's sucked up over to the left. And then this text over here is right justified, so it's sucked up over to the right. So that's what's happening here. We've got mixed line spacing. So jumping back to the document, this line spacing is all we go here, line spacing options, 0 single line spacing. But then if we look at the spacing between these two lines, pardon me, click here, line spacing options. It's a custom, it's not showing what it is, but it's a custom value. Oh no, I suppose it's not. It's just that it's a paragraph. So because this is a separate paragraph from this, we've got 0.8, I believe is the number, or pardon me, 8 points of spacing between this and this. And then down here, this is actually a full 12-point font space. So you can kind of break these things up so that you can get the kind of effect that you're looking for with spacing your lines. This down here is a cool thing. This is actually a paragraph border. So what you do is you can highlight the text of a paragraph. I'm going to turn it off here, no borders. And then, so you can highlight something like this, and there's a box here. If you highlight, it's called borders. You click on that, bottom border, and there you go. That's the easy way to get that line. Sometimes people do this thing where they do underline, 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 enter, and it makes one of these lines. These can be really annoying. I don't know if you've ever had one of these in a document and been unable to get rid of it, but they can be extremely annoying. So I would recommend not using that, the underline, underline, underline method, and instead highlight whatever you want and then use this border function that you see in Word. I've already talked about this, these non-border tables, and then the bottom, the footer elements of this document. Well, actually here, I'll show you one thing that's important is that this text is justified text, which means that it tries to take up the span of the margins and kind of be equally justified on the left and on the right. That's why it's called justified. And then you can see conversely, this is if it's aligned left. So justified, left, right? So justified looks much better when it comes to producing a finished, polished document in legal practice. And then this is the element, this is the footer. The footer is a good place to put the address of the firm, the city, the province, the postal code, phone number, website, information like that, so that you've got it on every page, generally speaking. And this is just a little note here. ENCL dot means enclosed. So if you get a letter in legal practice and it says that, it means that there's something else that's enclosed. Okay, so moving on, I show you a little bit here in this document how to access the tables and the headers. So I kind of already showed you that a little bit, which is that if you see at the top here, Acrobat is my last available kind of submenu. But if I click here, table design and layout come up. So then I can click on those and then use these menus to access the stuff about the table. I'm not going to get into the details because there are just so many features in Microsoft Word. And as I mentioned, I have a program on YouTube called Microsoft Word for Lawyers. You can check that out, and I get into the nitty-gritty there. Okay, but I do want to mention this feature, show hide formatting. There's this little button here that if you press this, you can toggle it on and off. What's the shortcut key for it? It's Control. I always forget that one. There we go. You have to hold Shift Control and press the 8 key. So that turns it on and off. So this information, I'm going to turn it on. This information that it gives us, these little backward kind of P logos and these arrows pointing to the left, that can be really useful. And actually these dots that appear, which show us that there's a space there. This information can be really useful when we're formatting a document and we're trying to figure out what's going on, and we're trying to make it into a really custom form, or just the way we want it to be. So that's something I wanted to point out. A lot of people don't know about what this button is and what does it do. If you push it, this stuff isn't actually appearing on the document. It's just showing you what's going on in the document. So anyway, that is a really useful thing that I use all the time. And on the next page, I'll just show you quickly, and then we'll just go back up. These are all of the different kinds of shortcut keys that I recommend using when you use Microsoft Word, showing and hiding the formatting, new line, doing a soft return, doing a paragraph. I'll leave you to do that. Test it out yourself if you haven't done that. Opening the font settings, bold, underline, left align, right align, center, justify, changing case, decreasing font size, increasing font size, find and replace. These are the shortcut keys that I use the most. Again, as I mentioned, I already have a program called Microsoft Word for Lawyers on YouTube. Go and take a look at that if you want kind of more of a deep dive into Microsoft Word for legal practice. And I talk a lot about these hotkeys. But yeah, for the purposes of today's workshop, we definitely don't have time to kind of get into each individual one, but that's actually going to be our exercise that we're doing. So just give me one second before we get there. So I just want to go over these warnings. Make sure you are saving often in Word. I know this is something you've probably heard a million times, but I have lost information in Word. So make sure you either have your autosave turned on or save multiple versions all the time. That's something that I did at law school and at undergrad. If I was working on an assignment, the very first thing I would do is I would save it and I would call it assignment version 1. And then I would start doing some work, a little bit of work, and then I would call it assignment version 2. That way I had already established, version 1, it doesn't have much in it. Version 2 has a little bit in it. And then every so often, kind of when I had a major revision or a major version where I've done some work, save a new version so that you've got some version control. You can go back to a different version if you need. And ideally, this will make you a little bit more cognizant of saving often, and you won't lose any work. And inefficient drafting. Try to use hotkeys as much as possible. I have, as I mentioned, I've made numerous YouTube videos on this subject. Not only a Microsoft Word for Lawyers presentation here, but also it's a whole lesson, keyboard shortcuts and macros, in my law student tech course. I use hotkeys all the time, every day. They speed me up. They are fantastic, and I really recommend that you use them. So, okay, so getting to the exercise. Basically, the exercise is, pardon me, here we are, is to open up, to download the before version of the document, this one that doesn't have any of the formatting. So get that downloaded. I think, is it this one? Yeah. And then I want you to start formatting this to change it so that it looks like the other letter, the after version, which I guess is here. So, really what I would do if I started, if, I was doing this, Control A, 12. We're going to change the line spacing all to 12. We're going to go line spacing options. We're going to set these to single. Okay. So what else? The font type, we're going to Control A, what is it? Palatino linotype, change it to that. What else? We can toggle back and forth. Attention, okay, bold this. I'm going to take this back, soft return, take this back, soft return. Dear name. That's all good. I guess I need to make a table now. Insert table so that I can get this information on the side. So I will copy this. I will put my cursor here, paste, Control V. I'm going to select all this, Control R to get it over to the right. Without prejudice, we want this to be bold and italicized. Control B, Control I. We want this email address to be italicized. Control I. What do we want on this side? We want all of this information. So that goes in there. Okay, I'm going to highlight the table. Table design, borders, no borders. Okay, because we don't actually want that showing up. Dear name, redispute this, involving this. So we're going to bold all of that. Tab that over. I'm going to highlight this like I mentioned. I'm going to click here to put a bottom border on this. And there you go, right? Like as you can see, in a fairly short period of time, I've already started to get this thing whipped into shape, right? So I'm going to hold Control Z to undo all of the work that I just did. And now I'm going to hold Control and press Y to redo the work, just to show you, boom, 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 boom. Look at how quickly I could get this done using hotkeys, right? So that's really the answer. So, so go ahead and work on that. Let me go back to the exercise. So go ahead and work on that. I'll give you some time, or, pause the video, of course. And then when we come back, or when you come back, and we're going to have some discussion questions. So go ahead and push pause and do that work. Okay, coming back. Aside from the hotkeys that I have mentioned that are on this second page, these ones in this table, let me know if there are any ones that you use all the time that I didn't include. I'm always willing to learn and happy to learn and wanting to learn. So if there's a hotkey that you use all the time and it's something that I'm not aware of, let me know. I'd love to know. And yeah, like I said, check out Law Student Tech Course Part 2 software at this timestamp. If you click this link, basically anywhere I give a link in this workbook, I've already linked it to the correct time to where it goes in the video. So you can just click on that and it'll take you to the right place. Okay, so that takes us to skill number 3, how to proof using text-to-speech. So this is something I do every day, and essentially this is proofing a document by using speech that will take the text and turn it into digitized text for you. This is something you can use at law school or in an office. You can use it to proofread academic work or work assignments. Pardon me. And the whole purpose is to complete your drafting quicker and have fewer typos. And we can do this in Microsoft Word, Outlook. I use this feature every day. I'm absolutely not kidding about that. I use it every single day. So what you need to do is you need a headset like this, or you need a headset like this, something. You can use your computer speakers, but if there's other people around, it's definitely better to do it this way. That way it's confidential. Only you are hearing the stuff that you're writing. The second bullet point there, I realize that this doesn't work for people who may be deaf or hard of hearing. So please keep that in mind. So if you want to learn more about this, please go to this video reference. Text-to-speech is a lesson in my Law Student Tech course, but again, we're going to do this live. So I'll get you to add the speech to text in your quick bar. These are the instructions for how to do it, but because this is a live presentation, I'm just going to show you how to do it. And you can always come back to this in the future if you want. So we're going to go into a document like this. Just ignore me for a second. so that I can show, so I can turn it back to the way it looks. Okay, so this is what your toolbar is probably going to look like in a Microsoft Word document. Same thing with Microsoft Outlook. It's just going to be kind of blank like this. So you're going to click on this down arrow. You're going to go to More Commands. Then you're going to go here where it says Popular Commands, go to All Commands. Now it's going to bring up a very long list. You're going to scroll down. You can click one of these, press S to jump down, because we are looking for Speak. Okay, SH, spelling, Speak. There it is. Click on Speak, then click on this button that says Add. It's going to come over here and it's going to be added to your toolbar. Then click on OK. So now it's been added up here. So I'm actually going to bring back that text that I had earlier. Why not? It's just some sample text. I'm going to highlight this and then I'm going to click this button and let's see what we hear.
Today the client came to see me at my office. The client brought some documents with respect to her father's estate. We need to draft the letters to send the information to the various banks so that we can get information about the holdings of the deceased. I asked my assistant to do this and ideally she will have drafts to me by the end of the week.
Okay, so that's it. So it may not sound like a lot, but the reason that I did that, there's a lot of reasons that I do this, frankly. Number one, it catches typos like crazy. Number two, it helps with increasing concision. If you run this on, let's say, an assignment that you're writing, an essay, you may notice that in paragraph 3, you start talking about something that you've already talked about in paragraph 2, and that maybe what you could do is you could merge those paragraphs and then kind of cut the excess, and you're going to, as a result, you're going to have a single punchier paragraph instead of 2 separate paragraphs. So it helps with that. It also just helps with knowing that your eyes aren't deceiving you and that you're seeing the document or hearing it rather for what it really is and for what is really there. A problem that I think a lot of people have is they write whatever they're writing or they type whatever they're typing and they know what they're trying to say and they expect to see that when they look at it. So if you just look at it when you're proofing, but you don't hear it, your eyes are not going to show you the mistakes that you've made. So for example, here we've got an email to proof. This is an email that I wrote kind of inspired by the FIFA World Cup that happened at the end of 2022. There was kind of an incident with the Croatian Soccer Federation. So this email has a couple of typos in it. So I'm going to give you just a moment here to look at this email and tell me if you can find the typos just by looking at it with your eyes. Okay, so now what we're going to do, so just to give you a hint, I'll narrow it down. I'll tell you that the typo is somewhere here. So one of the typos is being flagged, I can tell you. So it says I conform. That should probably say I confirm. However, sometimes Microsoft Word doesn't pick up these problems with a verb like this. Confirm, conform, they're both valid verbs. Microsoft Word is getting smarter and the software is getting smarter, but it's still not perfect. And there's also, so I'll fix this to confirm, but there's still one typo that's here that has not been detected. So I'm going to highlight all of this text and we're going to listen to this short little paragraph.
Please see the attached letter in relation to the incident that occurred on November 27, 2022, in which Croatian fans aimed taunts at Canadian goalkeeper Milan Borjan during the team's World Cup game. I confirm that I represent FIFA and am instructed to deliver the attached on its behalf. I look forward to hearing from you.
Okay, so what was that again? Let's just listen to this part of it.
In which Croatian fans aimed taunts at Canadian goalkeeper Milan Borjan during the team's World Cup game.
World Cup game. It should say World Cup game. Why does it not pick this up? Well, I suppose because it's capitalized. World makes no difference. Microsoft Word doesn't know what we're trying to say because it doesn't have that level of intelligence. Word and world are both nouns. They're both correctly spelled. World is spelled like this, W-O-R-L-D. Word is spelled W-O-R-D. So the software missed it. And why did I make the typo? Well, obviously I made the typo because this is an example that I'm trying to show you something, but it's possible that if I was typing this and I typed Word Cup game, of course I know that I mean it to say World Cup. There is no Word Cup as far as I know. So even though I am meaning to say World Cup, I wrote Word Cup. Um, and then I may not see that or I may not hear that. Now, word cup is not a big deal. It's just a typo, but I don't know about you. I like my writing to be perfect. When I did undergrad at York University, I graduated summa cum laude, top of the class. And part of the and I know at law school, there's a lot of exceptional people with absolutely fantastic marks and great LSAT scores, and that's how you got here. But for me, writing in a way where I never had typos and everything was always essentially, word perfect. Well, everything was perfectly drafted. I really found that probably has helped separate my assignments from my classmates' assignments. So many times when professors would give my assignments back, they would say, no typos, great job, amazing, or, stuff like that. So I think that using this technology, this speech to text, or sorry, text to speech, is a fantastic thing. I do it, pardon me, I do it every single day. And before I send an important email to anybody, I run it through this software, and it'll either help me find typos, and even if it doesn't help me find typos, it helps me find kind of clunky language, things to fix up, things to make sound better. And yeah, I use it every single day. So I really would like you to use it as well. I will give you a warning here. It's not good for picking up homophones potentially. So examples are the difference between bear and bear. Ideally, Microsoft Word would help you there because B-E-A-R-E, B-E-A-R is an animal. Bear is what is that? An adjective. It's describing something, something is bare. So that is something that Microsoft Word should pick up. The difference between principal and principal, I don't know about that one. I think, those are both nouns. So it's possible that Microsoft Word would not get that, would not pick that up, but you also wouldn't be able to pick that up with your speech to text, or pardon me, your text to speech, because it's going to sound exactly the same. Principal, principal. It's a homophone. So watch out for those. Okay, so exercise number 3. So using the steps that I showed you above, put the speech to text, or pardon me, text to speech button, the speak command, in your toolbar. Get out your headphones or your earbuds. Bring out an academic paper that you're working on right now, something that you're going to be submitting for grades, and then start going through it. If you want, just hold Control, press A to select the whole document, and then press the button and start from the beginning. Like even if it has the date, if it has your name, it has the name of the professor, the name of the class, everything, just everything. And then start listening and see if you're going to detect some typos, or see if you're going to detect some ways that you can make your assignment better. And then once you've done that, just put in this box a brief description. So something like this, I found that I had typed the word sample, but I meant to type the word simple. Or, by listening to my work, I realized that by swapping the second and third sentences, it improved the flow of my first paragraph. Or even the thing I mentioned before of realizing that there's redundancy in paragraph 2 and 3, that you could merge them and make for a tighter, punchier paragraph. Something like that. So at this point, I'll ask that you pause this video, go and find something, follow these steps above to put the speak command, this one here, in your toolbar, and then write down the results in this box here, and then we'll go from there. Okay. So moving on to skill number 4, what is it to review and collaborate on documents? Well, there's a bunch of different things, but generally it means version control, tracking changes, comparing documents, commenting on documents. We're going to talk about redlining and blacklining. These are concepts that come up. Sometimes they're confusing for people. Basically, to redline a document means to track changes in a document that's in progress. So if I give you a contract that's version 1, and then you make changes and you redline it, and then you send it back to me and say, these are my proposed changes, that can be version number 2, and I can see the changes that you made to my version number 1. And don't worry if I'm going too fast here, we're going to be looking at this. Blacklining means comparing 2 documents. So let's say we have a version of a contract that was written in the 80s, and then let's say we have a version of a document that was written in the 90s, we can take those two documents and the software will tell us how are those two documents different. So generally speaking, in my experience, this is something that law students will do in offices. I didn't find any use for this at law school. If you can find a use at law school, great, please do, and then let me know, but that's not something that came up for me. It's generally going to be stuff that you're doing at law firms or at clinics, and that when you're working on documents, either with clients, colleagues, opposing counsel, things like that. And yeah, how and what are the requisites? Microsoft Word. That's what we're going to be using. It's very powerful software. It's very cool. So, so what we're going to do, these are the steps showing you how to track changes, which is to redline. And then these are the steps showing you how to blackline. But we are going to be doing this as part of our exercises. So I'm just going to skip over this for now. This is, part of this workbook. Part of the reason that this workbook is here is so that you can look at this on your own time if you want. It's not, the idea isn't for me to step you through every single page and look at it. You can come back and look at this at any time if you need be. And then here we are talking about commenting. So three concepts: redlining, blacklining, commenting. All right. And then this is a kind of a special thing I just mentioned on the side, which is that you can tag people. If you're working in a really Microsoft Office centric kind of environment and people are using tags within the network and within your group, your organization, then tagging people can be a really, really good thing to do. Because it will potentially you can get it to send them an email and bring up different ways that they can be notified that they've been tagged in a document and that maybe their input is required, or there's a question for them or something like that. Okay. And that's actually kind of the first thing I mentioned in here as a warning, which is not every law firm uses all of the various features of Microsoft Word. So if you do use something like commenting or tagging, you may actually need to teach people or educate some of your people that you're working with if they are not using that or if they don't know how it works. So, okay. So to learn about how to blackline and redline and comment, we're actually going to do it in exercise form. So what I'll get you to do is introduce yourself. Wow, this is a little bit more difficult than it is live. So at the live workshop, the idea here is that a student will introduce themselves to another nearby student, and then those two students will decide, which one of us is lawyer one and which one of us is lawyer two. Because that's not happening and you're just watching this presentation on YouTube, we are basically going to kind of be our own lawyer number one and lawyer number two. So right now I will be lawyer number one, and I represent the consultant. Lawyer number two represents the client. So as lawyer number one, my instructions are to download the example consulting agreement. So I'm going to click on this, open it in Word. Okay, enable editing. Okay, so this is a consulting agreement. So let me go back here. Okay, I've done that. Number two, open the document, turn on track changes. Okay, I'll go back to the document. So you do that by going to review. It says tracking. I'm going to click on track changes. Okay, so it's on now. And did you see up here? So it says editing. I click on track changes. This even changes. It shows that we're reviewing it now. Okay, come back. Fill in the name and mailing address for your client. So I am lawyer one. So my client is this person, the consultant. Consultant, Mickey Mouse, with a mailing address of, I don't know, 123 Disneyland Road. Make some changes to the document, make some comments on the document, and then save a version and email it to L2, naming it Consulting Agreement Rev 2. Okay, so $100 per hour? I don't think so. Delete that. It should be $150 an hour. Payment method. Okay, I think I'll comment on this. I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to right click, new comment, and I'm going to say, I think that we need to add a payment method for PayPal, period. and then I'll click this button to save that. Okay, so I put a comment in the document. I've done some revisions. So you see the consulting agreement Rev 1, that's what it saved as already. So I'm going to go to File, Save As, Rev 1. I'm going to save it as Rev 2. So now it's revision 2, right? Okay, so I go back to the document, and then what I would do here is I would email this to the other person. So much of this work that is done at law firms and with lawyers is done through email, so that's kind of the normal way to do it. Okay, so L2. So after you receive the email from L1, save the document, open it in Word, so download it, open it, and now accept some changes, reject some changes, comment on some changes, and make some changes of your own, and fill in the name and mailing address of your client. So basically, the thing to do at this point is to basically do what the lawyer one just did. So it's not going to look quite right because, wow. Okay, if I click, wow, yeah, because I'm just me and I'm not two different users, it's not going to look quite right because, you know, we need to have Sean Dome and then we need to have somebody else. But client is Homer Simpson, mailing address of, what is it, 742 Evergreen Terrace. I'm going to reply to this. Let's see if I can. Reply. No, Sean, I don't think so. Now, okay, I'll be more productive. Okay, period. I will check with my client for instructions. Period. So I've replied to that comment. $150 an hour. I've clicked on that. I'm going to click here where it says accept. So I accepted that, and then I'm going to click here. Accept deletion. Okay, so now I've accepted some stuff, and I'll make a change myself. For all expenses, how about for some expenses? Okay, I save that as version 2. So I've done that. I've made some changes. So, okay, receive it, done. Save a new copy, name it consulting agreement Rev 3. Okay, I should have saved it as revision 3. So revision 3. And now on your own computers, lawyer 1 and lawyer 2, black line, compare the Rev 2 and the Rev 3 versions. So this is an interesting thing. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to open up a blank copy of Microsoft Word. Nothing is here. I'm going to go to Review. I'm going to click here where it says Compare. Compare two versions of a document, legal black line. So I click here. I'm going to click here. I'm going to compare version 1, and then I'm going to compare version 3. Yeah, that's fine. So what we see here now is a really cool thing where this is the original document of Rev 1, this is the original Rev 3, and this is a comparison of the documents showing us what's changed, who's changed it. So S1, SD1 is, I guess, the first time I was making changes. SD2 is the second time I was making changes. This is going to look a little better when you do it actually with another student and you make changes and you accept changes and you make sure that you've got different documents. But trust me, it's a very useful thing to do sometimes when you need to know what is the difference between two documents. Okay, we're moving on now to the 5th exercise, which is how to track tasks and record time. So this is something, again, I didn't do this in an academic sense. I did this at a law firm or clinics. This is something that you're going to need to do if you work at a firm where they don't already have an established practice in place, or you just feel that you need something to track the stuff that's coming at you. You're going to be asked to do all kinds of work and you need a system, right? So there's a big why section here. You know, why do you want to be tracking your tasks and recording your time? You want to keep your work organized. You want to have quick access to important information. You know, what was I assigned? When was I assigned it? What have I done on this assignment? How long did it take me to do what I did? What do I need to do next? Bullet 2, you want to start getting into the habit of billing. And this is what you need to bill clients if you're in private practice. You need to know what you did, when you did it, how long it took you, so that you can actually later say, I would like you to pay me for that, client, because this is the work that I did. Bullet number 3, you may actually be able to help lawyers bill now. There are lawyers who will take student time into account and they will put that on bills that are paid by clients. So that's a good thing. That's going to make you look good. You can actually start to track how much money you've potentially made for a firm. CYA, cover your arse. If things go wrong, you don't want to be the one holding a bag. If an assignment doesn't get done or something doesn't get done, you want to be able to say that assignment was given to me on Monday, and then according to my records, I gave it to this person on Tuesday. It was out of my hands Tuesday. I gave it away, right? It wasn't my responsibility anymore. Assuming that was a legitimate thing for you to do. But if you weren't keeping records and you don't know, and then somebody comes into your office and says, "What's the status?" You are potentially going to be in a dangerous position if your answer is, "I don't know. I don't know." You want to know. You always want to know, right? Good lawyers are extremely well organized and good at keeping records and keeping track of this stuff. So we're going to use Microsoft Excel, a spreadsheet, to do our work here. If you're in an office, I strongly recommend that you walk around with a physical pen and pad of paper, or probably an electronic device to get the information down and to do it in an electronic way and save yourself time. But I do find that having the different ways of doing things, electronic, but then also some stuff in pen and paper, it makes the pen and paper stuff stand out as being more important. So I try to only write down, okay, I was assigned this, so I write it down, and then later I'll put it in my electronic system. Yeah, so if you want more information, I do have a video, Microsoft Office for Law School and Beyond. I've mentioned that. This is a presentation I did with the University of Toronto last year, pardon me. And at the 8 minute and 41 point of this video, I talk about Excel. Okay, warnings when using Excel to do your work. You need to make sure that the firm that you're working at doesn't already have a system in place. So you don't want to be producing some kind of redundancy where you're keeping this information in Excel, but your firm is using some kind of file practice management software. If they're using that, use that system. Don't use this. And that kind of goes almost with the next bullet, which is efficiency. The point of tracking your time and tracking your tasks in Excel is it should be servicing you. It should be doing something good for you. If you find that it's taking up too much of your time, it's not working, it's not something that you want to be doing, then change it or stop using it, or do whatever you need to do to find a system that works for you. So I suppose there can't be too many questions before you get to the exercise, because I haven't kind of told you what we're doing. So let's just get into it. Exercise number 5. So congrats, you have landed a job working as a summer student for Albert Jones Law, general practice law firm with 4 lawyers. Chris Albert and Kelly Jones are the 2 partners. They are each 30+ year calls with busy practices and dedicated assistants. Chris practices mostly personal injury litigation. Her assistants are Sam and Danny. Kelly practices mostly corporate law. His assistant is Amaya. Most of your time will be spent helping Chris, but you are also hired to help Kelly and assist the 2 associate lawyers or their assistants if they ask for help. The firm is a busy place, and you're starting on a Wednesday. You work from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and you take a 1-hour lunch break. You've taken over from an outgoing student, so you've got that work to do, but you're also being assigned new work. And unfortunately, you're starting on a Monday. The previous student has already gone, and there's no one to teach you anything about how to use the firm's practice management software. You have been told that you'll be trained next week, but in the meantime, you need a solution, right? Because you still got Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And this happens in real life, and this is actually something that happened to me. So the firm only ever employs 1 student at a time, so there isn't another person there. And it's a bit of a sink or swim situation, but you're a sharp student and you're up to the challenge. So you're going to keep everything in a spreadsheet. So using the below information, complete the provided blank spreadsheet. So I'll show you where you can download that. Basically, what we're going to be doing in this exercise is tracking all of the work that you do in your first week at Albert Jones Law. So there is no correct way to do this. This isn't an LSAT question or a law school question. The goal is to track your work, practice making decisions about how to put the information in, how to prioritize which tasks you do. I want to also to give you this precedent, kind of like the memo that I showed you earlier, as a bit of a precedent that you could potentially use in legal practice. This is very similar to the version that I first started using when I was starting as a law student, and the firm that I joined didn't have a system that really worked for me, so I started using a spreadsheet. And yeah, as I said, this is something that could potentially simulate a real world situation that you may face. And even if your firm does have a system in place, you never know when it could be taken down by a cyber attack or there could be a network problem, so it's unavailable. So it's good to have a backup and it's good to have a good way to track information. So these are some helpful tips. I'll let you read this on your own time. It's kind of part of the assignment. And the staff listing and file listing information, I'll let you look at that as well. You're going to need the references to do the exercise. And then this is where the actual kind of meat of the exercise comes in, the events. I'll skip over that for now. And then this is the spreadsheet that we're going to be filling out. However, instead of filling it out directly into the document here, click here to download this document, and there you go. And I've already done a little bit of editing for you up here at the top. Entry date, file number, client name, matter, lawyer, working time, entry description, received from, received method. Okay, so going back up here, go ahead and stop the presentation now and read through these events, day 1, day 2, and day 3, this one page. And what you're going to do is you're going to take this information about the work that you're doing at Albert Jones Law and you're going to put it in a spreadsheet, the one that I've already given to you. And then after you've done that, I can show you what I would consider to be an ideal version of a completed spreadsheet. So go ahead and do that. Keep in mind that you're going to want to read these helpful tips about how to put the information in. You're going to need this information about who these staff members are, who they work for. You know, these assistants work for these lawyers. You're also going to need this information here about the different files that the firm has. So go ahead and do that, and then we will come back. Okay, so you've taken some time to go and work on that spreadsheet. I am going to show you what I consider to be an ideal answer guide. As I mentioned before, there is no perfect right or wrong answer. Okay, so this is the way that I would do it. This is, actually, I'll just get rid of that. That's for the next part. So what I would do here is put your entries. This is the information that you get. So as you can see, day 1, these 4 entries. This is the stuff I did on day 1, which is May 3rd. This is the stuff I did on day 2, which is May 4th. And this is the stuff I did on May 5th, which is the Friday. These are the different file numbers that relate to the work I did, the name of the client, the matter name, the lawyer who is responsible for the file, and then the working time, you know. So for these ones, I've got NA because I didn't actually do any work. I was just, or pardon me, I guess I would say it's not really billable work. You know, this, I read a memo regarding work to be done. I don't really consider that to be work because it's all kind of internal, right? Same here. I received a memo from this person, SL, requesting research on quantum of damages. Here, however, number 4, for this lawyer, CA, I put down 4 hours reviewing the file and researching quantum of damages and providing a memo to CA. And over here, you see that I didn't receive this work from anybody. This is the work that I did. But up here, when I'm talking about this memo and this memo, I'm writing down who I received it from and what form it was in. So this work I received in memo format. This is work that I received verbally. I received a call, I received a request to call the client. This person, AH, told me to do this in person. Coming down here, verbal, email, voicemail, etc. So this is kind of what I consider to be an ideal version of doing this task and getting this information together. And if we come down here, you know, I make some notes here. You know, you're supposed to be prioritizing your work for Chris. So on Wednesday, you should do the work on that Eric Johnson file as soon as you're assigned it. And then on Friday, you should call Miriam before you call Tess because you're supposed to be prioritizing Chris's work. Number two, you shouldn't be fooled by the two different Eric Johnson files. One is from a house purchase from many years ago, and then the other one is from a personal injury file. So when you're asked to do a research memo on damages, you should be aware that it's the personal injury file that's current, not an old house sale. Some of these questions, I'm asking you to be the one to decide how to round the numbers. So if something says that it's going to take 40 minutes, you're either going to have to decide that it takes 42 minutes, or you're going to have to decide that it takes 36 minutes. It's up to you. It's your call. Same thing, number four, this is a funny note, I think. You didn't quite catch the name of the person, you wrote down blah, 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 but then when you look at the file names, you see that there's a blah, 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 Robert blah, blah, or Bob blah, blah. So that is what blah, blah, blah meant. Or you could have just asked this Paul person. So discussion questions here. So why is it important to note when you receive tasks and who you receive them from? I've already kind of hinted to that earlier in the bullet points about the cover your arse type thing, where it's really important to know what's coming in and what's going out. And then another thing I would ask here is if you think there's any other kinds of columns that would be helpful to add to the spreadsheet to track other information. So if we come on to the next page, we'll see I'm suggesting that you see page 35 above for answers to this question. Why is it important to note, who you're receiving work from and tracking your information about your work? Obviously, there's a lot of different potential answers. And then here for question 2, I'm suggesting some other potentially helpful columns. You could track the due date, you could track the file path, you could track, you could use color codes, all kinds of stuff. So if you have any other ideas about stuff to track, please just let me know and put it in this box. Okay, moving on to skill number 6, how to use a basic spreadsheet function. So this is not going to be a deep dive into Excel. Excel is a very complex piece of software. And in my experience in legal practice, I've used it quite a bit, but not as much as Word and not as much as Outlook, that's for sure. So, but using basic spreadsheet functions can be very useful, either in an academic sense or working in an office, so that you can gain more insight from the data that you have in your spreadsheet, and also make it easier to work with, as we saw in the previous skill. So again, we are going to be using Microsoft Excel. We're just going to need some data to work with and a computer running Microsoft Excel. And if you want some more information, in my Microsoft Office for Law School and Beyond, I do talk a bit about examples of using Excel at law school and in legal practice here at the 8-minute 41-second point. So I've already done this for you a little bit in the example document. The fill color of the heading I've changed. Auto-fitting the column width is something I show you here so that you can see all of the information. Freezing the top row can be a really useful thing. It shows you how to do that here. And then zooming in on the document or zooming out, in or out, so that you can see everything. Formatting cells, you right click on a cell and then you can change the way it looks, whether the cell is containing currency or a date or a percentage or something like that. I'll show you how to do that in the exercise. And then the functions, this little window here really shows you just how much power there is in Excel. Financial, date and time, math and trigonometry, statistical data, lookup, database, text, logical, engineering. There's just so many functions in Excel, it would take forever to go through them all. There are, of course, the basic ones: addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, that they look like this. And yeah, as I've said here already, a full explanation is definitely beyond the scope of this workshop. But the good news is that I really only use Microsoft Excel in legal practice only so much. So, and here is a warning. GIGO, or garbage in, garbage out, is a concept from computer science, which basically means that if you input bad information into a system, you're going to get bad information out. So it's really important to make sure that the information that you put in is good. So starting the exercise. So we're going to use the spreadsheet that we made from exercise 5 before, and then we're just going to work with that document just to make it nice and easy for you. So go ahead and carry out these tasks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tasks, and then so pause the video, do these things, and then we'll come back and take a look. Okay, so I showed you before that I deleted this stuff out of here. So what I asked you to do is basically to make your document look like this. Number one, I said fill the cells at the top with a light color. So you click here, you hold shift, you press the spacebar key, and then that spans the entire top row. And then you can change the color by clicking on, what is it, this one? Yeah, so I'll change it to this green color. Number two, auto fit so that you can read the cell contents. So yeah, so you just highlight everything where there's text that you're going to be reading. You click on format and then auto fit column width, and then it makes it nice and easy to read so that everything's spaced out properly. Freezing the top row, so that's something I haven't done on this document. So I'm going to go up to the top row, highlight it, go to view, freeze panes, freeze top row. And then as you can see that as I scroll, it stays here up at the top. At the bottom of the time column, use a sum function to determine how many hours of work you did. So what I did here, I'll just delete that. So under the working time, if I highlight this all, it actually shows a total, which is here, 9.6 is the sum, but I want it to appear down here. So I'm going to type equals SUM, open bracket, and then I'm going to push up. I'm going to hold shift. I'm going to highlight all of this, press enter. 9.6 hours is the total hours that I worked. I guess I should maybe put this here or something. Or maybe I should do it like this. Put this underneath, make it look a little nicer. So 9.6 is my total hours. Next to the cell with my sum function, use a division function to determine on average how many hours of work I did each day. So I'll just get rid of that. So I'm going to say equals this divided by, well, 3 days, 9.6 divided by 3. So 3.2 hours each day. You know, on this day, I did 4 hours. On this day, I only did 0.2 hours. And on this day, I did 5.4 hours. So the average per day is 3.2. Next to your division function, use a multiplication function to determine the monetary value of the hours you worked. Assume that your hourly rate is $100. So get rid of this. I'm going to go equals. I'm going to press up to highlight the G20 column or cell. I'm going to go multiplied by 100, and then that's going to say 320. So 320 is the amount. And then I'm going to format the cell so that it uses the category of currency. So it's already done, but I'm going to right click on it, format cells, currency. I want to use a dollar symbol. I don't want to use, a Bitcoin symbol or any other symbol stuff down here. I want to use the standard dollar sign symbol, 2 decimal places, click OK, $320. And then that's it. Okay, so the discussion questions that I have for you for this this skill is, are there any other formatting options that you use? Question number one, or any functions that you use in Microsoft Excel that I haven't mentioned here. If there are, please mention in box number one any formatting options, or in box number two any other functions that you use that I didn't mention here, and what the application is for using those options or those functions. As I mentioned before, I'm always wanting to expand my understanding and my learning, so please let me know. Okay, so we are now at the final skill. Tracking, managing, and scheduling the delivery of email. That's what we're going to be talking about in this section. Quite a bit of stuff, but it's also really intuitive. And we're going to be doing this all in Microsoft Outlook. For the most part, this is stuff that you're going to be doing in offices, but this is actually something you can do at law school, and it can be helpful to you at law school, which is something I'll explain. So the reason that we need these skills is because, looking down here, is because email can be difficult to track. So we need effective solutions for doing that, for tracking it, managing it. And then scheduling email is a special thing that I do all the time. I think it's something that not everybody does. Something I'm going to be talking about. That's something that offers really big benefits. And yeah, that's something we're going to be taking a look at. Microsoft Outlook is the software that we're going to be using. And that's what we need is you need an email account. We need some email messages and a computer running Outlook. And also, if you have a smartphone that you can connect to your email, that can be really helpful too. And we'll talk about that. Video references. I've got a whole video that shows you how to schedule email delivery. We'll be talking about it, but if you ever need a video that takes you step by step, that's there. I also mention it in this video, and I also talk about setting rules in Outlook. So let's get into it. So this is starting off. This is something I want to mention right off the bat, how valuable it was to have an email address that is your first name, your last name, and then the word law@gmail.com. The reason for this, as you see down here, is by putting all of your eggs in one basket. If you use your law school's email address, or if you use a law firm's email address, you could potentially lose that email address. You know, when you graduate university, you're not going to have access to your university address anymore. So, you know, all that email is potentially lost. You need to back it up. Same thing if you work at a law firm. You know, things happen. Sometimes people get fired from law firms, or they move on to another law firm, and you may lose access to your email. So by having an email address that is your first name, your last name, law@gmail.com, you can establish a place where you can put all of your eggs in relation to the law. So, you know, all of your, job application, things relating to client matters, law society communications, continuing professional development information, anything that's law related, you can use that email address for it. And if you start doing that right now, you know, even if you're pre-law or first year, second year, third year, that can be a really useful thing that you can do. And it's a Gmail account, so it's free and it's very helpful. So here I mention why you should always have your own law-related email address. Don't use somebody else's basket because you might lose it. Okay, so here I am just walking you through the steps of hooking up a Gmail account in Outlook. You can look at this on your own time. It's fairly straightforward, but I just wanted to make sure that you had the steps there. Same thing here. This is showing you how to create folders in Outlook. It's basically just simple right-clicking, entering the name, doing it over and over again. I do have a note here that if you join a law firm, they should probably already have an email structure in place, and you shouldn't have to make one all your own. But if they don't, for whatever reason, by doing it this way, you'll have something that you can work with, and you'll know how to make your own folders and all the rest of it. This is showing you how to search folders. Again, I'll leave that to you to look at on your own time. This is talking about creating rules. Now we're getting a little bit more advanced. This is something that not everybody does, but essentially in Outlook, you can make what are called rules, which tells Outlook, you know, when an email message comes in that fits a certain criteria, when an email comes in, and if it fits a certain criteria, I want you to do this with it. So if an email comes in and it is from Google, you know, this is just a simple example, and it comes to, well, actually, if it comes to any of my email addresses, I want you to move that item to my Google folder. Okay, great. And then after you make that, you can actually run the rule on all of the messages in your folder. What's really useful about that is you can clean up your folder really quickly by making a bunch of rules, and then moving forward, anytime you get an email from Google, it'll go right to the Google folder and you won't have to file it. So that can be a really great way to save time. So this is showing you another way to create rules. There's more than one way to make a rule, but it's pretty simple. Okay, and now scheduling email delivery. This is something that is really near and dear to my heart. Essentially, I'll show you how to do it for real. And here I've got all kinds of important notes about sending emails by a delay. I'll leave you to read this on your own. And here I talk about all of the advantages of sending email on a delay. I'll just read the headings. You know, it makes you look more diligent. It allows you to have a time for further thought. It can reduce anxiety of pressing the send button. You can use your time more efficiently, and you can prevent being disrupted. You can train your clients and control the pace of communications, and you can increase file lifespan and productivity. So I'll leave you to read this stuff on your own, in your own time. And there's just a warning here that a person can detect if you're using delayed delivery. I don't think it's a big deal. It usually doesn't come up, but so let me show you really quickly how to do that. So I'm going to open up Outlook. I'm going to make a new message. I'm going to bring it over here. And as you can see, I'm going to send it from sdelman@telus.net. Hello there. I'm going to send it to info@waythorn.com. So I am going to say, hi there, this is an email, period, from Sean. So I'm going to click on options, delay delivery. Over here where it says do not deliver before, you can change this to a different time and a different date. So what I can do is I can change this so that it will be set at 5 o'clock, or I can send it at 7 o'clock, or I can arrange that it's sent at 10 o'clock, whatever kind of time I want to set it for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it to 4:12 p.m. That's where when I send a lot of my emails, because I find that by sending them at that time, it's kind of close to the end of the workday. It kind of makes me look good that I'm responding before the end of the day, but it also frees me up to do all kinds of work during the day. And then I click send. So once I've clicked send, that email is going to sit in my outbox. It's not actually going to send right then and there. So if I wrote that email at 8 in the morning and I scheduled it to send at 4:12 in the afternoon, it's not going to send until 4:12 in the afternoon. So as I mentioned, there are all of these reasons up above, 7 advantages of using delayed delivery. I'll leave you to read these advantages on your own, but I send basically every email I send it on a delay. So take a look at these reasons and take a look at this video that I mentioned here up above if you want to know why I do it. And I really highly recommend that you do it too. Okay, moving on. Inbox zero, this is something I'll let you read on your own time as well. But basically, inbox zero means trying to keep your inbox in a state where there's almost zero, very little or almost no email in it. And you achieve that by having good folder systems. So it's something that I've talked about before, and I'll let you read that on your own. Deleting email, generally speaking, I recommend that you don't delete email and that you file it places. Even spam email can occasionally come in handy. For example, if you were working at a law firm and you got hit with a scam and you delete the email, well, it may actually come in handy later to have the email so that you can learn, where did this email come from? What did the email contain? Even though it's a scam email and it's potentially dangerous, it may be better that you have the email than delete it. So you just put it in a spam folder or something, but keep the email. So anyway, I'll let you read what I wrote there about deleting email. It does have some potential drawbacks of not deleting it, but given the advances that we have made in computer technology with respect to storage space, I think it's a good idea to just keep your email and just keep it really well managed, all of it. Final notes about email, use text-to-speech. I use it every time before I send an email. Use your smartphone to manage your email on the go. That can be really helpful in legal practice. And consider unsubscribing from different newsletters that you're on if you find that you're getting too much email. That's just a really good way. Instead of having to make rules for it, it's just easier to not get the email in the first place. Okay, rules. So I mentioned before that these rules will run in your email if you set them up. They're not going to run unless you arrange for them to run on the emails and unless your software is actually running and you've kept Microsoft Outlook running. So keep that in mind. Watch when you are routing emails. The rules that you make are going to be only as smart as they're just going to do what you tell them to do. So if you were to tell your rule to put every single email with the word Google in your Google account, well, if a client sends you an email and they say, hey, I read something interesting on Google, and Google is in the subject line, watch out that it may send that email to the wrong folder. Just keep in mind. Redundancy, if your firm is already running, if you work at a firm and they already have some kind of email management or email routing software in place, use that software and make sure that you're not wasting time by making your own rules or keeping your own filing system. There is software like SimpliFile and QuickFile, which works really effectively to route email. So if you're working at a firm and they use that software. And finally, cybersecurity. It's really important to observe good cybersecurity practices. I've got a whole bunch of materials at the end of the workbook. Actually, I'll just jump to it now. This is all kinds of cybersecurity content that I've produced. It's for free. It's on YouTube. I recommend that you take a look at this. Oh, I'm actually missing one about this one about using a password manager. Very valuable thing to do to shut down scams. Okay, so exercise number 7. We've got only a few minutes left. I'm just roughly trying to match the amount of time that I had when I did this presentation live. So this is taking us back to Albert Jones Law. Congratulations, your job there is going really well. But now the firm is asking if you would help with a new project. The firm is using a contact form, which is it looks like this. And whenever somebody comes to the contact form, they have to pick a subject: general inquiry, personal injury, family law, state litigation, wills and estates, etc. So what your job is, should you accept it, is to go into your Outlook software and make a rule for each potential message. So the messages that are going to come out of the form off of the website are going to say in the subject line either new message AJL general inquiry, new message AJL personal injury, etc., depending on what the person visiting the website has selected. So you're going to make a new rule. You're going to make a folder for each of these, and then you're also going to make a rule that is going to route email from your inbox to these folders. And then once you've done that, send an email to the webmaster, which will be me in this case. So send an email to info@seandillman.com. And this is for real. This is a real exercise. And then when you do that, I can send some test emails to make sure that your rules are running properly. So at the end of this exercise, what you're going to have is these folders, in addition to whatever other folders you have in your email account. And then whatever email address you email me from, I'm going to email you back emails that have these things in the subject line to make sure that your rules are working correctly. So it's up to you to determine what parameters or what words or how you're setting your rules. That's something that you need to figure out. And if you want help with that, or you need tips or tricks, you can ask me, but everything has already been provided in this workbook as far as how to do that. And for your information, this is what an email would look like that's being generated from the contact form. So let's say this person, Randy Wallace, was using the contact form. This is what the information that's going to be spit out and it's going to be sent to you. This is what it's going to look like. But this is the subject line is basically the piece of information that you're going to use to route your email. Okay, so with that, thank you very much for attending this workshop. I really appreciate it. The raffle that I did was essentially for a Starbucks gift card for the students that were live and attending. So I don't have an additional gift cards, but perhaps in the future I may decide that I could do another one. So if you'd like to potentially be entered into a second raffle, follow the steps here, subscribe to my YouTube channel, post a comment on one of my videos, any video at all, something that's ideally helped you, and then send me this completed workbook, so this PDF document with your information in it, and your finished timetable from exercises 5 and 6. And yeah, and then make sure to check out the additional resources that are in this workbook. I showed you them briefly. There's all kinds of stuff here, which is designed to support your success. I've got all kinds of stuff in here on my YouTube channel: how to read faster, how to help with resume writing and interviewing, good study habits. This book is excellent. If you need a way to organize tasks, if you need some good tech, like this is a great printer by Brother, or if you need a scanner, these are 2 great scanners from Fujitsu, etc., etc. So there's all kinds of stuff on there. So yeah, as I say on here, I'm really happy to have been here today, and I'm happy to support your success. So if you think that I can do that and you want to get in touch with me, please reach out. You can get in touch with me through LinkedIn or Facebook. And if you want to support me and my continued success, as I said, please comment on my videos, share them with anybody you think who may find them to be useful. If you have family or friends or law students, lawyers, legal assistants, anybody. And if you really want to know kind of what my channel is all about, then make sure to watch this video, Welcome to My Channel, which is basically me describing the channel, giving an overview of the content, and letting you know how you could help if you're interested. And yeah, that's it. So I'll take us back to the first page. Thank you very much. This has been 7 Practical Tech Skills for Law School and Beyond, presented to the University of Toronto. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye-bye.